Every single day, the average American family hands $2,000 a year to a food system that can collapse in 72 hours. You've been told the solution is stockpiling cans, buying a generator, trusting the supply chain. But 2,400 years ago, a Chinese fish farmer documented a system so productive, so self-sufficient, that emperors tried to ban it. Auburn University researchers tested it on American soil. A 1,000 square foot plot. The results were quietly published, cited by almost nobody, and never taught in a single agricultural college in this country. The system still works. It's still legal in most states. And it produces more protein per square foot than cattle ranching, with almost zero ongoing cost. But the part that should concern you most isn't what this system does. It's why you've never heard of it. To understand that, we have to go back to 475 BC, where it all started. In 475 BC, along China's Yellow River, farmers noticed something after seasonal floods receded. Carp were trapped in low-lying depressions. Instead of just eating them, they dug those depressions deeper, reinforced the edges with clay, and let the fish stay. They thrived. They reproduced. And they could be harvested whenever food was needed. This wasn't farming yet. This was observation, partnering with what the land already wanted to do. Fan Li documented this in the Yang Yu Jing, the world's first aquaculture treatise. By the Tang Dynasty, oracle bone inscriptions reference managed fish ponds, integrated directly into agricultural plots. But the system was still incomplete. The real breakthrough came from a crisis nobody planned for. And it changed food production for the next 2,000 years. In the 7th century AD, the Tang Emperor made a decision that accidentally changed food science forever. His family name, Li, shared pronunciation with the Chinese character for common carp. Out of imperial superstition, he banned carp farming across the entire empire. Farmers faced a real crisis. Their primary protein source, gone overnight. By decree. But instead of starving, they innovated. They began raising 4 species simultaneously, each occupying a different depth. Mud carp at the bottom. Silver carp filtering midwater algae. Grass carp consuming surface plants. Bighead carp eating zooplankton. Zero competition. Zero waste. The ban didn't destroy the system. It perfected it. And here is where the American story diverges, not through conspiracy, but through something quieter and more revealing. This knowledge didn't get banned in America. It got left behind. European settlers arrived with cattle, pigs, and chickens, livestock that fit vast frontier land. A self-managing pond required patience, observation, and permanence. Frontier life demanded speed and mobility. The biology was sound. The timing was wrong. By the 20th century, backyard ponds had become decorative. Koi for the wealthy. Ornamental fountains. Nothing that fed anyone. But not everywhere. Drive through Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, or Holmes County, Ohio, today. Amish families have maintained working polyculture fish ponds for generations. Quietly. Without trend cycles or YouTube algorithms. The knowledge never died. It just moved to the people who never needed permission to use it. And in the 1960s, American researchers finally caught up. At Auburn University in Alabama, fishery scientist H.S. Swingle began systematically testing what ancient Chinese farmers had practiced for millennia. Small test ponds. Native species. Polyculture stacking borrowed directly from Tang Dynasty methods. The published results were striking. Under active fertilization, test ponds yielded up to 350 pounds of fish per 1,000 square feet annually. Nearly double the protein output of cattle ranching, using 1/10 of the space. But here is the number that actually matters for a backyard system. Without heavy fertilization inputs, running passively, realistic yields land between 50 and 150 pounds per 1,000 square feet per year. That is still more protein per square foot than beef. Still enough to matter. And duckweed makes it more efficient still. At 35 to 45% protein by dry weight, comparable to commercial soybean meal, it grows faster than your ducks can eat it, cutting feed costs by 20 to 30%. The studies were published, cited by a handful of researchers, and then largely ignored, not suppressed, just underfunded, in a system built around industrial scale. The system has 4 components. Remove any one of them, and the whole loop breaks. Ducks are the biological managers. They stir bottom sediments, releasing nutrients. Their waste feeds algae. Algae feeds zooplankton. Zooplankton feeds fish. Khaki Campbell ducks alone produce 280 to 340 eggs per year each, 840 to 1,700 eggs annually, from a flock of 3. Plants are the filtration system. Cattails pull excess nitrogen from water. Duckweed, 35 to 45% protein by dry weight, regenerates faster than ducks can consume it. Fish are the harvest layer. Bluegill, catfish, tilapia, each occupying different ecological niches, exactly as Tang Dynasty farmers designed. Beneficial bacteria run the nitrogen cycle invisibly, converting fish waste into plant food, closing the loop completely. Now the number most guides skip entirely. At 2025 grocery prices, a family of 4 spends roughly $2,000 annually on meat and eggs. This system offsets $400 to $700 of that every year. On a $500 setup cost, your payback period is under 18 months, after which the system runs at near zero cost for decades. Here is exactly how to build this. Total cost, $400 to $600. Choose the lowest point on your property, where water naturally collects after rain. Mark a 10 by 15 foot area. Dig 4 to 5 feet deep at center, with a 1 foot shallow shelf around the edges, for plants. Heavy clay soil, pack 6 inches of wet clay and compact it. Sandy or rocky soil, EPDM rubber liner, $1 to $2 per square foot, lasts 20 to 30 years. Fill. Wait 1 week for chlorine to dissipate. Plant cattails and submerged vegetation on shallow shelves. Wait for weeks. This is non-negotiable. That wait isn't arbitrary. It is the time your nitrogen cycle needs to establish. Add fish before bacteria colonize, and ammonia from waste spikes invisibly and lethally. A $15 ammonia test kit in month 1 tells you more than anything else you will do. Introduce ducks after week 4. Fish after week 8. Now the part every other guide skips. A single great blue heron can empty your pond of fingerlings within 48 hours. String monofilament line 6 inches above the water's edge. Install 1 submerged refuge structure fish can retreat under. Total cost, under $10. Effectiveness, near total. Winter is where most backyard pond guides get people killed. Not literally, but financially. The advice you will find elsewhere says 4 to 5 feet deep is sufficient. In southern states, it is. In USDA zones 4 and 5, upper Midwest, New England, mountain regions, that pond freezes solid and kills everything inside it. The real numbers. Bluegill survive winter dormancy in ponds 6 feet deep minimum. Channel catfish need 8 feet in zones 4 and colder. A $40 pond deicer keeps a breathing hole open, but only if there is enough liquid water volume underneath it. Tilapia cannot tolerate water below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Harvest them before first frost, or move them indoors. No exceptions. Now the legal picture, which is simpler than most people assume. In most U.S. states, ponds under 1 acre require no federal permit. You are managing rainwater on your own property. Fish stocking regulations vary by state. Bluegill and catfish are legal nearly everywhere. Tilapia are restricted in warm southern states due to invasive species risk. Check your state's fish and wildlife website before purchasing fingerlings. That is the only permission this system requires. 10 years from now, the food system will be more expensive, more fragile, and more dependent on infrastructure you do not control. That is not a prediction. That is a trajectory. The people who will feel calm in that moment are not the ones who panicked and stockpiled. They are the ones who, years earlier, dug a hole in the ground, introduced some life into it, and then stepped back. Not because they were afraid. Because they understood something Fan Li documented 2,400 years ago, and something Amish families in Lancaster County never forgot. Biology does not need permission to work. You do not need a perfect setup. You do not need expensive equipment. You need water, sunlight, patience, and the willingness to let a living system do what living systems have always done. This is not food independence as an ideology. It is food independence as infrastructure. Quiet. Functional. Already proven across 24 centuries, on every inhabited continent. If this opened something for you, or subscribe. Share it with one person who is ready to stop outsourcing their food supply. The pond is waiting.